before colonizers brought maps, before Europe laid claim to what was never theirs, before the lie of Africa's silence took root in global memory, there was a queen. Her name was Amina, and her story was thunder. She was not the kind of queen who waited behind palace walls. She did not rule from comfort. She ruled from horseback, with a sword drawn and a nation at her back. Queen Amina of Zazzau was a power incarnate. Before the world could accept such a vision in a woman, she built cities, conquered enemies, protected trade, and expanded her empire in an age when women were expected to kneel. But Amina did not kneel. She rode, and in her riding, history changed. This is not just her story. This is our inheritance. The Hausa lands of the 16th century were not barren, backward, or broken. They were sophisticated. They were powerful. They were wealthy. The Hausa Bakwai, 7 city-states in what is now northern Nigeria, thrived. Kano, Katsina, Gobir, Daura, Rano, Biram, and Zazzau. Each a sovereign center of trade, scholarship, and spiritual life. Zazzau was one of the wealthiest among them, supplying slaves to traders heading north toward the Sahel and east toward the Red Sea. The economy was complex, the culture was rich, and it was in this prosperous environment that Amina was born. Her mother, Bakwa Turunku, was queen before her, a rare but powerful example of female rule in pre-colonial Africa. From her, Amina inherited not only a throne, but a fire, the fire to rule, and the fire to fight. Amina was not raised to be ornamental. She trained with warriors. She studied military strategy. She mastered the arts of governance and the language of power. In her youth, she followed soldiers into battle drills, not with the giggles of a girl impressed by strength, but with the steel gaze of someone learning how to lead them. She was sharp. She was disciplined. She was, from the very beginning, something more than royal. She was revolutionary. When her mother died, Amina's brother Karama became king. Amina served as a key military advisor under his reign. But the day he died, the people did not look toward the Council of Men. They looked at her. They had seen her on the battlefield. They had followed her through droughts and raids. They knew her as both protector and punisher. And so in 1576, they made her queen. It was a coronation that echoed across the savannah, like the opening strike of war drums. Not because a woman had taken the throne, Zazzau had seen that before, but because this woman had no intention of staying behind palace walls. Amina's reign was not marked by ceremonial gestures or symbolic victories. It was defined by military expansion, political control, and economic domination. She immediately launched a series of campaigns to consolidate Zazzau's control over key trade routes. She understood what many kings before her did not, that prosperity is not given. It is taken, secured, and defended with absolute resolve. Her forces marched on cities like Kano and Katsina. They laid siege, not just with brute force, but with brilliant tactics. They encircled cities, cut off supplies, and demanded allegiance. And city after city fell, not just to the strength of Zazzau's armies, but to the force of Amina's vision. But she didn't destroy it. She built it. She ordered the construction of protective walls around every city she captured, some of which still stand today. They were tall, thick, and impenetrable. They were not just structures, they were symbols. Amina's walls said, "This land is watched. This land is guarded. This land is ruled by Zazzau." To this day, they are remembered as Ganawar Amina, Amina's walls. Her military strategy was years ahead of her time. She placed outposts to monitor trade routes. She installed governors loyal only to her, and she taxed commerce in ways that made Zazzau one of the most powerful economic hubs in West Africa. But Amina was not only a conqueror, she was a cultural force. Her leadership inspired poets to write, griots to sing, and historians to record, though much of what they wrote would later be buried under colonial silence. Even her enemies respected her. Even those who feared her name could not deny her brilliance. They told stories of how she took no husband, how she led armies into war, how she slept in tents beside her soldiers, and how her sword never dulled. And perhaps those stories turned to legend, and perhaps the legend became a myth. Some say she took a lover in every city she conquered, and killed them in the morning so her power would never be shared. Others say she was the daughter of the gods, born not from a woman's womb, but from the fire of the Sahel itself. But whether fact or fiction, one truth remains. No one ever forgot Amina. She reigned for 34 years, and she expanded Zazzau farther than any ruler before or after her, and then she vanished. It is believed she died in battle, somewhere in the southern lands around 1610. She died doing what she had always done, leading from the front, a sword in her hand, a cry in her throat, a kingdom in her shadow. And yet, as colonialism swept across the continent, her name was quietly erased. European historians labeled her a legend, a folktale, a maybe. School books stopped teaching her story. Statues were not built. Universities did not quote her. They erased her because she didn't fit. A black woman, a warrior, a ruler, a strategist. She was too much truth for a world addicted to lies. But we remember. We remember her not as a myth, but as a mirror that reflects what Africa was and what it still can be. Queen Amina lives with every African woman who breaks barriers. She lives with every daughter who chooses power over permission. She lives in every mother who teaches her children that strength and softness can live in the same soul. She lives in every voice that refuses to be silent. She lives in Zaria. She lives in stone walls and whispers prayers. She lives in the stories we choose to tell. And now, you know her. Not as a myth, not as a footnote, but as the warrior queen who defied an empire. This is Echoes of Africa, and the echo has returned.